Hey everybody, welcome to the Ronline Report. This is a Ronline Report. Well, this is an interview I've been waiting over 13 years to do. I've only got to interview this man, Phil Heath, currently seven-time Mr. Olympia, once, and that was for Muscle Mag right after he won the Junior Nationals in 2005. Shortly after that, he signed with Weider AMI, and I had no access to this man for 13 years. Well, praise God. God is good. Here I am speaking to Phil Heath. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that article.
Yeah.
I was it came out, I think the year I turned pro. I think we spoke in like April of '03. Oh, no, of '05.
'05, yeah.
'05, April of '05. And I remember thinking, because Jay had told me that I was going to get a call.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is going to be cool. So I was actually doing the review of the interview in my old retail store that I worked at, a Bally Total Fitness.
Oh, wow.
Running. Yeah, so I was working at a nutrition store,
Okay.
and I remember telling all my friends, I was like, yeah, man, I got an article coming out, man. And they're like, dude, you just work in a retail store. I was like, nah, man, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do something much different.
Right. I have to say, the contracts with the athletes, I hated that. I always hated that. I said, why can't I talk to this guy and their magazine can't talk to their guy who's with MD? It's ridiculous. It's like, you follow mainstream sports, like NBA players, they could only talk to Sports Illustrated and not ESPN magazine or something. Nobody would ever, that wouldn't fly.
It would never work. I mean, I guess the difference is that Sports Illustrated, ESPN, they weren't paying exclusivity contracts, so right. I understand that part, but I do agree there would have been a lot of cool collaborative projects that could have been made, especially before the magazines died. Yeah. I think with getting different athletes together, kind of like what happened when Jay Cutler came back and retained his title in '09, how we did that photo shoot right after in front of Joe Weider, and there was a lot of guys that worked for MD at that time that were going back and forth. So we saw that photo shoot be one of the best, and actually Joe Weider's last photo shoot appearance.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think collaboration is good. This is the first time I've been able to speak with you guys as well. I've seen you around. I've seen Steve Bleckman, and it's always kind of like weird. Like you can't even like really be friends or anything because of the war that was going on back in the day.
Even weirder. I don't know if you realize. I don't know if you read MD or peeked at it every now and then, but I wrote a column for probably 3 or 4 years called "The Gift" about you.
Okay. Huh.
I had to do it without speaking to you. It was all based on your interviews, videos.
Yeah, Hani had showed me that, and I remember seeing it. I was like, oh. I said, and I remember telling him, I go, this is unfortunate that Ron's having to grasp things from mutual friends and social media or whatever, when really it should just be simple, like, hey, Phil, let's have a cup of coffee at one of these expos we see each other at, and okay, cool, Yeah,
and honestly, I got jealous when I'd see, like, Mark Lobliner interviewing, I'm like, mother,
Yeah, that was... And it's funny, that worked out because of my affiliation with a supplement company. So that was like that gray area that some fans maybe not understood. Because they used to ask me, why don't you interview with this person? He's cool. And I'm like, I can't, dude. I'm under contract,
Yeah. I mean,
so it's different now.
If it ever came across like I was against you or a hater or something, it was largely a lot of frustration at having no access to you. It pissed me off like you have no idea. This is Mr. Olympia. I can't talk to him. Oh, anyway.
I think what I've realized, and I know we had talked about this before the call, is sometimes fans share that same resentment.
Yeah.
Not because it's like, I want to see him compete more. I want to see him do more appearances. I want to see him, and he's not allowing me to do that. Yeah. So then I'm like, screw him. I'm angry because I read responses and people say, like, when they really relax their emotions, they'll be like, it's not that I hate the guy, it's just that I want to see him. And I'm like, dude, I totally get it, man. I wish I could compete more. I wish I could be in every gym across the world saying hi to everybody. I mean, yeah, if I could, do all that stuff, I would.
Yeah. You have your Gifted Athletics shirt on. In your honor, I wore my 2010 Mr. Olympia, which
nice.
That was the first year where I was like, oh my God, this guy's, holy crap. This guy should be Mr. Olympia this year. But, took another year.
Yeah, that was a good year. 2010, that was right after, because in 08 I placed second at the Arnold and then second at the Olympia. Third at the Olympia.
Yeah.
Then came back that next year, got fifth, and then that following year got second at the Arnold Classic, and then got second at the Olympia. So for me, that was a good year. Yeah. Because I learned quite a bit about fulfilling that so-called prophecy that a lot of people were speaking about, and knowing that I have an opportunity to own it inside instead of just say, I hate to say this, but I'm going to be real with you. A lot of people just talk to say, oh, I'm going to be the champion. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be that. Yeah. They don't realize how much stress it is. They don't realize the pressure. And then you start seeing guys not peak on show day. It's because that pressure gets it gets hot. Chest gets tight. Everything gets, people are nervous. Right. So I learned after 2010 that if I'm going to speak anything into existence about me wanting to win something, not only do I have to do the work, but I also have to own those words. Like they have to not just be for the fans to hype up a show. They need to be real, Right.
Okay, I have prepared questions because I was very excited about this interview, and I wanted to make sure I got all the questions, and I didn't want to regret, I should have asked him that. So question number one, this is one I've talked about this so many times with other athletes, is your nickname. I've often felt your nickname, The Gift, worked against you, as it could be interpreted as meaning someone who had everything handed to them. In retrospect, do you wish you would have had a different nickname, or even no nickname, preferably?
At first, I felt the same way. It wasn't something that I gave myself. Right. It was something that one of my friends gave me. And his definition was predicated on being a former Division I basketball player, going into this sport of bodybuilding, obviously having some physical talents that you just don't normally see, but then having the different mindset. Playing different sports, you have different mindset. That I don't have the traditional mindset of a bodybuilder. And that's a lot deeper, but at the same time, I didn't fulfill a lot of negative stereotypes either, because they can't say that he's educated. I got 2 degrees. You know what I'm saying? I went to a freaking school that cost, at the time, $50,000 a year. So he's got that. He's got that going for himself. So we can't call him a dumb jock. He has the physique, and he understands how to adapt and be able to articulate his thoughts and feelings to where you don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand, or a 5th grader to not understand. I can make it work for everybody. So that's really what it was, and basically saying I have a gift that I can share to a lot of people. And unfortunately, because of, I would say, the average person's misconception or misunderstanding, not having this type of dialogue, it provides them, well, I guess I have to think about it myself. I think it's an arrogant fucking name. I think he's sick, and that's just the way it is. Yeah. But I think that's where having, I would say, maybe less emotion. If people probably think for a second, well, he is gifted, and he's gifted in other ways that we're maybe not giving him credit for. Right. But in the end, I'm trying to share with everybody that everyone has a gift at something. Okay. It could be bodybuilding. It could be sales in a company. It could be being a good dad or husband or wife. Or everybody has something special. So you have to find that. Everybody says, I need to find my niche. Yeah. Well, when you find it, you have to do what? You have to learn about that skill, that niche, work extremely hard at it, and then when you have the opportunity, share that experience with other people, so then they can feel like they can go after their dreams too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think your friend was a basketball player. Was that right? No,
he was a bodybuilder, and he was a bodybuilder locally, and he just came up to me one day and was like, "I got the perfect nickname." I'm like, oh, dude, like this is gonna catch some shit. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, I mean, does he not? He must have realized in bodybuilding, a gift is sometimes also called when somebody wins a show that they shouldn't have won.
right,
You know,
right.
you actually lost a couple shows earlier on that you should have won.
Right. He's European, so we'll give him that.
Yeah. I mean,
We'll give him that grace that his understanding was a little different, right?
on that note, I have to interject. The last time you did the Arnold War, you lost to Kai, right? Was it 09? Yeah.
2010.
2010. Kai, after you guys, the judging was over. Everyone was gathering their shit up in that area backstage. Is obviously veterans not there anymore. But Oscar came up to me, and Kai was next to him. He said, "What do you think?" I said, "I think Phil's got it." And Oscar just like gave me a scowl, turned his back, and walked away.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. That's what I thought.
It was. Yeah, that was a war.
Yeah.
That was.
That was a rough
You know what's funny, Ron, is that show is never really talked about in detail. They'll say, "Oh, Phil peaked at that show and still lost," but they don't realize that was the largest bodybuilding point swing in history.
Wow.
I was up by 3 points after prejudging and got third place, tied for third with Branch Warren at the night show, losing by 7. I lost by 6. So I was up by 3 after prejudging,
Yep.
lost by 7. That's 10 points.
Wow.
That is, name another show with a person, you know what I mean?
The only one that comes close, I just talked to Jay last week for something, and when he lost to Ronnie in 01 it was.
Yeah, that was similar.
He was up by a bunch of points, and Ronnie being the better poser, I guess, beat him in the posing round. So, yeah, it was another mysterious mathematical equation.
Right, and that's one of those things where I tell people, people talk about bodybuilding being political and this and that. I go, guys, I wasn't complaining back then. You guys are just now hearing this story from me almost 10 years later.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to be like, well, F this, they don't know what they're doing, blah, 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 because is it political when you win?
Right.
It's never political when someone wins. It's always political when someone loses, right?
That's
so
right.
you just, at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself one major question: can I get better? And that's what I did. And I told myself, I'm never going to lose to him again. And I didn't. And I made sure of that because I was pissed that I didn't win that show because, I have not done that show since in Columbus.
Right. Yeah.
It left a foul taste in my mouth, We'll
get back to Kai later, of course. Kai always pops up again. What I want to talk about is Hani. So many athletes bounce around from coach to coach, back and forth. I can only think of 3 athletes, successful athletes, who have been with the same coach their entire pro career, and that would be Ronnie was always with Chad Nichols, Flex Lewis always with Neil Hill, and you've been with Hani Rambod since day one. So what has made it a great partnership? What's made it so good that you never went looking anywhere else?
I think it was the fact that Hani and I shared same common interests outside of bodybuilding. So for me, I'm a talkative guy with people in my circle. Yeah. So I like to talk about everything. And he and I just clicked. Like, I was like, okay, wow, like I could talk to him about cars. I could talk to him about current events. I could talk to him about all these different things and then talk about biochemistry, physiology, and also all this other stuff. But that was such a small component, in my opinion. I had to find someone that also was a good motivator and also knew how to pay attention to detail while I'm carb depleted and, just going out of my skull, right? Yeah. So I was able to job shadow Hani when he was working with Bill Wilmore and Charles Riardi at the 05 Nationals. And I literally job shadowed him. I was in front of his athletes. I was in front of their spouses. I was asking all kind of questions like, so how does he talk to you? Like this and that. Like, because I figured I'm giving someone access to me. And if this works out, I don't plan on leaving. So when I lost my first pro show in 07 at the Arnold Classic, got 5th, I remember people saying like, oh, you should work with Joe McNeil, you should work with Chad, you should work with this guy. Everybody's got these opinions, right? But they didn't remember I just won my first 2 pro shows the previous year. And I have a thing with loyalty. He didn't show any disloyalty. He told me that I wasn't going to win everything. It was about a learning process. And we grew together. And I think it's a good partnership. And now it's like a well-oiled machine. Like, It's like Phil Jackson and Jordan, you know what I mean? Like, because people will say, well, what does Honey really do? And it's like, dude, like, we got to this point by visiting every day on the damn phone, thinking about everything. So then when it's time to light the fire for the prep, he doesn't really have to worry about me doing my cardio or eating healthy, training hard. Like, we've already had these discussions.
Yeah. He's very selective. Obviously, he can be. He won't work with anybody who's not going to give that level of commitment. I know that.
Yeah. Well, you got to be coachable in the sport, and unfortunately, the guys that bounce around from coach to coach is usually them as the common denominator.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just. I mean, that's no jab at anyone. It's just. I just think that's the way it is. Like, you gotta really ask yourself, am I giving it everything, or am I cheating on my diet and I'm telling my trainer I'm not, and am I really training hard? And you got to really hold yourself accountable, and you can't say, Honey is going to hold me accountable. No, you have to be accountable to make him an even better coach.
Right. He actually did a column, I did a column with him for, like 12 years, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And one of the topics, 1 month, it was just about, are you coachable, or who's coachable? Yes. And he used you as a prime example because you had that Division I athlete background where you'd been working with coaches, and you had that, you already had that in place where you were used to, being coached and doing what the coach says and following through, where a lot of these guys, they would second guess him, they would question him, they would go against what he was telling them to do. They weren't.
I've literally seen it with previous clients of his, and I'm like, oh man, like. And I've had athletes hit me up that are working with other coaches questioning their stuff. And I'm like, dude, like, don't ask me, tell them, have that communication. Yeah. And be honest. And because Honey doesn't know everything, but he knows quite a fucking lot. And if I don't tell him how I'm feeling, how can he make an adjustment? But I have to give him the honest truth, and I have to give the honest effort. So, a lot of people didn't play high school varsity sport where they had to be coached and I'm saying like at a state championship level or something like that, or All-American level. They don't understand that relationship has to be really good. And the ones that did have that relationship, you look at guys like, Ronnie Coleman, he played, football in college. You're telling me he didn't understand the coach's mindset and this and that? Of course he did. Yeah. Jay Cutler played football. He understood that. Chris Cormier with wrestling, Sean Ray with football, they understand shit. So then you're like, oh, okay, he gets it. And if he doesn't get it, it's because his own wrongdoing, not the coach. Yeah.
Next thing I want to talk about is, I think Vlad might be pissed. Vlad Newton might not. I've never actually asked him about this, but we've never actually spoken, but I did a column, one of your columns, the title was, Did Generation Iron Make Phil Heath look like an asshole? Because I believe, as I watched that movie, it's a docudrama. It's not really a documentary. And Pumping Iron wasn't really a documentary either. It was like semi-scripted. They knew what they wanted to do. And I feel that that's how Generation Iron was, is to make it more dramatic and more like a real movie. They had characters like Pekulski. I was watching Pekulski. I'm like, that's not Ben Pekulski.
That's not. I know.
And I watched you, and I said, "That's not Phil Heath." What was that? The real you? And were you upset about the way you looked in that movie, the way you came across?
It's funny. So we went to the premiere right before the Olympia. Yeah. I think we were like 2 weeks out from the Olympia, and we went to New York and LA for the premiere. And I remember watching it, and I was like, "Wow, this is really cool. I'm in a movie." Blah blah blah. And I remember doing the last premiere in New York, and Honey was like, "Dude, I think we're in trouble." And I go, why? He goes, because I think that some people are going to get this mixed up and think that you're just some guy that got everything handed to you. You didn't have to really work hard. And I said, no, they'll figure this out, that it's just a fucking movie, dude. And I'm like, nope. No, they didn't. So I remember doing premiere here in Denver. I snuck in and sat in the front with a microphone. So I watched the movie with everybody, turned on the lights, and I was like, hey, what's going on? And I just said it straight up. I said, how many people in here thought I was a jerk or an asshole? And there was people that raised their hand. Now, it's funny because I'm representing them in Colorado, right? Yeah. And I said, why am I an asshole? I said, because I was asked the question, do I think I'm going to win? Yeah. Well, if you ask the top 10 guys if they think they're going to win and they say yes, they're not looked as a jerk. But if I say something, then I'm the asshole.
Yeah.
Okay, number two, to answer your question, yes, I think it damaged my career. I voiced my concern because I had probably at least 2-3 hours worth of comedy shit, like me talking real trash.
Yeah.
And I meant it. I wasn't like holding back. I was like talking about each guy's posing. I was talking about how they don't come in shape and why I'm the champion and this, that. These are things that would make me look good, or make me look bad, but at least it would be I think it would have been funny. People would have been like, wow, this guy is telling jokes. You can ask Vlad. If Vlad's watching it, he could say, there was a time when we were filming Phil and we had to stop rolling tape because people were laughing. Because I was cracking jokes. And
yeah.
I thought, wow, this is a great time for people to see my humor side. And then for 3 straight years after that, that's when fans just decided to put me in a bad image. And I just thought, well, I have a choice because you're not going to win those guys back. You're just not. Like, they're going to have to figure this out on their own. And I just said, well, I'll be the villain. I don't give a shit. Like, it's only going to make me better as a bodybuilder, so keep it coming, I guess. But then it got so worse because of what Kai said. Like, oh, he's the gift. He's got gifts. And I'm like, dude, if anyone, you know what I mean? Like, I had a house, I had a Bentley, and this and that. I'm like, guys, do the math. Kai Green at the time was second in the world. When I was second in the world, I had the same contracts he had. I had the same guest posting schedule he had, and I was driving a Bentley, had 2 houses.
Yep.
Telling me that was the place that he was living at
all the time. He was in the projects. He had to take the train everywhere. Yeah.
Right. But everyone takes the train. One of my best friends lives in the city, and he takes the train, and he makes all kind of money. Like, that's what people do in New York.
Right.
So it was just one of those things where I thought it could have been done different. I think it was really bad form that they didn't even ask me to be a part of the second one, because if you're really trying to, have a dialogue, you would include the best bodybuilder in the world.
Yeah. And
I think it was their loss, honestly, because I never made myself unavailable to do something. But I always look at it as a learning lesson. I learned a lot from how people are, a lot, and I had to learn that if I want to be anything outside of this sport, like an actor or something like that, I have to literally be able to be willing to walk down the street and someone see my character and think that that's me and then talk shit to me.
Yeah.
I have to understand that. So it definitely was a learning lesson.
Okay. All right. Speaking of Kai, I've said many times, I think the only man who has a legitimate chance, he still does, he still looks great, of beating you is Kai Green. The 3 years he took second to you from 2012, 2014, to me were the most exciting years in recent Mr. Olympia history. Those are, I was sitting there with my popcorn. But, do you feel he was the man who had the most potential of beating you? And do you miss having a worthy adversary like that?
I had some of the best times on stage with Kai. And I don't think people understand what I mean, so let me divulge in it really brief. Boston Red Sox, Yankees, like that's what it was. Lakers versus Celtics back in the day, that's what it was. And I enjoyed that rivalry, although on paper it was one-sided as far as me winning, but it was more about, yes, he was the most worthy adversary. He was the guy that, he just brought a different physique. Right. His density was just, and still is, like some of the best I've ever seen. His lines are good. I prefer his 2012 physique at the Olympia. Yeah. I think that was, I know that pissed him off because like that was the year. That was the year even myself. I was like, if I don't come in ready, this fool is going to come get my ass. Yeah. And, I enjoyed it. I know a lot of fans enjoyed it. That's why they wish that he came back and stuff like that. But I think the fans have to realize that eras come and go, rivalries come and go, they live and die. Let him live, let me live. Are we sending each other Hallmark cards? No, but I don't have a problem with him. I don't expect anyone with that much motivation, that much passion for what they do in life to like me, because that's what he wanted to do since he was a kid. He wanted to be Mr. Olympia. He wanted to be a bodybuilder. And I was standing in his way of reaching that goal.
Yeah.
So I can't assume that he's going to want to be my friend. So I was okay with those battles and the trash talk and all that stuff because it made us both better. I think he and I both can agree. We both raised our game level up. I mean, shit, like we both, I'll tell you a quick story. 2010, Arnold, Thursday night, doing my last workout. I'm doing shoulders with Hani. He's with Oscar, and Oscar is with him on the step mill, and he's talking to him. Yeah. And I had someone go over to him just to hear what they're saying, and he was motivating Kai, like basically feeding into his head, like you're gonna beat him. He's nothing. He has everything. You have nothing. And I'm over here doing shoulder presses, and I'm like, we're both training a little too long on a Thursday for a Saturday show, because we knew that if one person let up, that other person was going to win. It was just that close. And like I said, I enjoyed that rivalry. As far as today's competitors, I try not to compare them to Kai, because it would kind of, I think fans would not understand. Kai was probably, in my opinion, he's a better bodybuilder than these guys.
Yeah.
He is.
No, he is.
At his best, he is. So I don't think anyone really wants to refute that. But that doesn't mean that these guys aren't worthy enough to be up on stage with me. But what I will say is that if Kai was still competing, it would have been like Ronnie and Jay, where meaning like Ronnie was winning, Jay was getting second, and people were getting third and fourth and fifth. That switched every year. Now, without Kai, since 2014, there was Kai in 2014. 2015 was Dexter or Roden.
Roden, yeah.
Yeah, Roden, Dexter.
Ronnie.
And then Ronnie. So 4 guys have been second place during my Olympia run, or 5 really, with Jay, but tossing him out with current guys, that's what it was. So, I have to prepare for all of them.
Yeah.
That's where I don't look at one person in particular. I look at all of them collectively and just say, either one of these guys could be with me up on that stage last man. So I have to understand their strengths and weaknesses. I have to know why I've beaten them before and limit my weaknesses and maximize my strengths.
You just reminded me of one of my favorite Ronnie Coleman quotes, because Ronnie's got a million awesome quotes. Someone asked Ronnie one time leading up to the Olympia, Ronnie, who do you see as your toughest competition for the Olympia coming up? He said, all of them. All of them.
Yeah. He ain't lying. I mean, because he knows.
Yeah, he came from like 8th place to winning in 1 year.
Yeah. I mean, who would have thought? And so I'm not going to sit here and say that a guy that placed 10th last year doesn't have a chance. It's just everyone has a chance. Yeah. And that's what they're fighting for, is that they have a chance. I mean, I was watching Dexter Jackson's IG stories today, and he even said, he was like, I'm just waiting for one person to slip, and I'll get my ass right up in there. And I'm like, he's right. Yeah. If someone slips, he's going to get them, including myself. So I have to make sure that I handle my business. So it's I would say there's a lot of pressure involved and this and that, but that's just that's just the game, right? That's just, and with social media,
we'll get to that. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your training, because that's something people love to talk about, of course. Some fans have criticized your training style because they feel you should be using all free weights, incorporating the 3 power lifts all the time. Basically, they want you to train like Ronnie Coleman. I've actually defended you many times on this, because a lot of fans don't understand that bodybuilding is all about how the physique looks, not how much weight you can lift or what exercises you do. I love Ronnie, but he's in a wheelchair and has had 6 spinal surgeries, both hips replaced. Meanwhile, you're well on track to tying his record of 8 Mr. Olympia titles. The only injury that you've had I'm aware of is the double hernia, which you got repaired. So please talk about your style of training and why it's the best for you. And, do you even listen to these people who are telling you should be training like this and that?
It's funny that no one has come to a seminar and asked this. It's funny. I mean, it's just being honest. Like, no one has really sat me down in a seminar.
It's all on the keyboard, dude. It's all on the keyboard.
Well, because they see other guys. And here's the thing. I'll just point this out. You don't have to be Mr. Olympia, right, to lift heavy-ass weights. There's plenty of people at local gyms in your area who can bench press 500 pounds, squat 600, deadlift 700 pounds. that are small as fuck.
Yeah.
We've seen these guys. So what I've learned is when I first started, I followed Ronnie Coleman's Workouts in Flex magazine. So I was doing free weights. And that was before we had a lot of machines introduced, because I was still at the University of Denver my first year. I wasn't playing. I was a fifth-year senior. So that fifth year, that's when I started bodybuilding. So we didn't have really any machines. We just had squat racks, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you bench press out of a squat rack back then, you know, like you had bare bone shit. And I did those lifts with guys at University of Denver, University of Colorado State University. I used to drive up there 40 minutes to go train with them, and a lot of free weight stuff because that was the craze. And then I realized after watching some Jay Cutler videos and some Flex Wheeler videos, I saw a combination of both. And then people forget, like, I'm an IT nerd. So I'm an IT grad and business grad. So like I have a different mind with science. So I'm thinking these people over at Hammer Strength and Life Fitness and all these companies, they had real engineers build this shit to isolate certain muscles. So if I want my upper pecs to grow and I want to do incline press from here, can I do it with a barbell? Absolutely. Can I do it with dumbbell? Of course. Yeah. But if I want to minimize injury, I've never seen someone get injured on one of these machines, but I have seen someone get injured. I've spotted guys doing incline bench on barbell. I've spotted guys doing leg press with crazy plates on the side. I've seen this shit. So I told myself, okay, once you get to a certain point, your frame, your type of muscle could potentially get injured. I had injuries. People don't know, like I partially tore my pec in 2009. Oh, wow. During the Olympia prep. For 8 weeks, I didn't have movement. I was doing 50-pound dumbbells for chest. I mean, no one knew. So
how did you tear it? How did you tear it? I never heard about this.
It was it was the first year that Dexter Jackson had his show in Florida, and he had me as a guest poser, Troy Alves, Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman. And that was the year that I was like, it was like things were pushing, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to win this year. Yeah. And I felt some weird tingling in my hands, in this hand. And then I remember going back to Denver, and Dylan Armbrust was spotting me doing 4 plates on incline. And on that third rep, I had him grab it, I wrapped it, and it felt like paper tearing. And that's what it sounded like. Yep. And I'm like, fuck. And I was like, so it didn't turn black and blue. It didn't pull from the rib cage or anything like that. It didn't require surgery or even an MRI. It was just one of those things that it was a micro tear. And I thought to myself, I could have ended my fucking career doing that. Yeah. I should just train with 315 and let it be. So that's what I did for a long time. And then when I started doing these training videos, I started looking at my target market. My target market are people that aren't very big at all. So if I'm lifting this gargantuan amount of weight, they're going to get hurt. So I'm trying to show them that I was able to grow Olympia champion back without deadlift. Yeah. I was able to grow really good legs without having to squat 500 pounds. Right. So you say, oh, it's just your genetics. It's like, yes, it is. However, it's being able to engage the muscle and to train with technique, and good tempo and time under tension. And honestly, checking that ego every freaking day and listening to your body. And the proof is in the performance. So for those guys that want to see heavy lifts, go to some of my old videos back when before I turned Mr. Olympia. You'll see some heavy shit. The problem is that, it's just, you can get diminishing returns at this point in time in my career. Like, what, do I have to be bigger to win? Probably not. No. The biggest issue last year was that I had a double hernia. So now that it's gone, so that in itself will enable me to lift heavier, because anytime you have a double hernia with intestinal strangulation, you're losing your blood supply to certain organs. So therefore, you're not volumized. Yep. So now I have more volume this year, and people have seen some of the videos I posted. They're like, man, you're looking really good. It's like, yes, because the muscle is being pushed harder now. More nutrients are going there. Whereas the last 4 years, I was developing this problem, and it hindered my performance, training. So I had to make adjustments with doing, machines, and I can tell anyone, like, if they really don't believe that they can't grow on machines, come to Denver, Colorado, and I'll put you through a workout and get your ass kicked, and then you'll be like, okay, he's not joking around.
Arm Roast Gym, everybody, Denver, Colorado, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The hernia, I mean, it came as a surprise because I don't recall you ever really talking about it. It was clearly you had it. It was very obvious to see. But how long had that been brewing? You said 4 years.
So when it happened last year, I realized, man, like I'm having discomfort. I'm having a lot of discomfort sleeping, laying down, not necessarily moving around, but like if I was doing core work, like doing planks and stuff, it felt like it was coming out of my damn stomach. And I was like, something's fucked up. Like something's really bad here. So I got blood work done because I always get blood work done, even during the prep.
Yeah. So
it's like 10 days out before Olympia. I get blood work done. They rush it back. It shows that hematocrit, hemoglobin are low. I'm like, how can they be low? Let's read between the lines here. Professional bodybuilder. And iron was deficient. Iron deficiency. And it is said on the blood work, signs of anemia. And I was like, I shouldn't be anemic, right? I'm doing what bodybuilders do, plus eating and training and this and that and the other. I should have too much. I should have it too high.
Yep.
AST, ALT was like in the low range, and I'm like,
wow.
So
that should be high too.
Right. So nothing I'm doing is working, right? So, going to Olympia, I was like, shit, man, this is bad. So then after the surgery, I thought to myself, go back to the blood work from previous years. Yeah. And it was in 2014, in April of 2014, that I started seeing a change. That it dramatically started getting lower and a little lower and a little lower. And then come 2017, it was very low. And that proved that I had that back then. Because I remember taking pictures with Dylan, and he was like, what's wrong? Like, he's like, you keep breathing hard and this and that, just doing posing. And he's like, you always had an outie, but like your belly button's kind of sticking out a little bit different. And he's like, what's that all about? And I was like, I don't know, man. I think it's just because I've been force feeding myself and just trying to get huge,
Yeah. You didn't notice that? I mean, it looked like a thumb almost.
Yeah. The problem is, it got pretty fucking bad. I mean, after a while, you have to think with those, the upper and lower hernia plus the intestinal strangulation, that part pushed everything outward. So then if you look at pictures on the far right side, which would be your left, you would notice that was my intestines. That's what that was. So for me to get that worked on, the doctor I went to, he's performed procedure on some top 5 guys in Olympia, some guys from overseas. Yeah. And he got me in and out in an hour and a half. It was only supposed to take 20 minutes. But I had complications, and that's when I realized that, wow, this could have been really serious. So after that, it's been a long recovery, getting the strength back, listening to myself, and I started training with free weights just to get everything back to normal. So now I've had a different look because of it. But yeah, that was a effed up time in my life. I thought, imagine winning the Olympia and then you have to be ridiculed for having
bubble gut. That's all we heard. Bubble gut.
Right, and that's what people want to call it. And I'm like, you guys don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, this is something that is, no one wanted to admit that's what it was. And that's where I ain't gonna lie, that's where I got pretty upset. Because I'm like, I get it. You guys want to troll and talk shit, but this was like a life thing. Like, I remember some guys saying, yeah, I'm a nurse and this is not that big of a deal and this and that. And I'm like, but you weren't the doctor doing the procedure, so how would you know?
Yeah.
And that's where I thought, gosh, man, like so many people, unfortunately, are so caught up in their emotions that they won't look at fact. So you have to, as a champion, just realize they are who they are and you are who you are. And you just have to say, thank God for the procedure getting completed. I'm healthy and I have an opportunity to compete again.
Wow.
Simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine you're going to look so much better this year without that issue going on. It's just it's a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
All right, time to talk social media. Here we go. So you get a lot of heat, Phil, for things you posted on Twitter. Yeah, it's Twitter mostly that you post on, right? Twitter?
Instagram. Usually Instagram.
Okay. But you are really the first Mr. Olympia that's had to deal. Social media is a pretty new thing.
Yes.
Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat.
Mhm.
I don't even know what else they have. I'm old.
Right.
But so every hater, every troll now, years ago, if you had something to say about a pro bodybuilder, nobody was going to ever hear it except your buddies at the gym. But now, put it on you. It's out there for the whole world to see in 2 seconds. So, has that been has that been an added pressure on you these past few years? How do you deal with the constant barrage that you get?
I don't think it has been added pressure. I just think it's been more added annoyance. I mean, because here's the thing. When people say, oh, they have their opinions about what I've said back, it's always me saying something back to somebody. Yeah. It's never me being the bully and talking shit. What am I going to talk shit about? I'm the best in the world. Like, what do I have to say?
Right.
So if someone's going to say, oh, you got a gut and this and that, it's like, dude, seriously? Really? And then, or you're an asshole. And I'm like, really? You don't even know me. And I'm thinking, and there was times where I made fun of the guy back just to kind of prove to them that, number one, I'm more funny. Number two, I'm more witty. And number three, you're not even, your whole misconception is just based on the fact that I'm beating your favorite guy. Right. And unfortunately, with social media, it became trendy to throw hate on the great ones. Yeah. It's trendy to talk shit about the guys at the top. It's trendy. It's like hip. And, here's a perfect example. I've even gone on you guys' boards. Oh, and I'll see guys that'll, on MD boards. I've perused through there just to see what said. Oh, yeah. Trust me. I see it all. And I'm like, and I think to myself, gosh, like, they've got to be just fucking around because they can't be that damn dumb. And then I tell myself, I'm like, you know what, dude? It's the fact that, like, when you're the best at something, people are going to do whatever they can to distract you. But since that's not working, they're just thinking, well, I'm just going to just hate this guy. And then you'll get a guy that'll say, here's the classic line, I'm not a Phil Heath fan, but he is the greatest and this and this and this. I'm not a Phil Heath fanboy, but he's this, this, and this. I'm not a dick rider for Phil Heath, but, and here's my thing about that. In our culture, we should realize that I don't have to say no homo or I'm not a fanboy. If I say, hey Ron, I really like your glasses. I just like your glasses. I don't have to say anything else to preface that to show that I'm giving up some type of male machismo or ego or whatever. So I always find it interesting that people feel the need to have to preface their opinion about something. Why can't you just say, I think Ramy looks good. I think Black looks good. But when you're the champion, they say no homo or not dick riding, bro, but Phil Heath's the champ. Yeah. Why can't you say he's the champ? It doesn't. And if you feel that you're a fanboy, that's how you feel, but you don't have to project that because that's kind of negative. If I say something about Kevin Durant or the Golden State Warriors, I don't have to say, well, I'm not a fan of them, but they're the best team in the NBA. Right. I just say, man, they're the best team.
Yeah. Why is it a bad thing to be a fan of anybody? That's what I don't get.
Because they are fans, and that's what the funny part is. And I think with social media is that they're fighting with themselves. It's really like if you go on my social media and you go on my Instagram, people will say some hurtful stuff, whether it be to me or my fiance, and I'm just thinking. So when we clap back at you, meaning we respond with something that's not cursing you out and just putting you in your place, now you get mad. Now I'm a jerk or she's this or that. And it's like, no, you started it. At the end of the day, there's times, man, I'll just be funny with you, Ron. There's times where I'm taking a shit and I'm reading some of this stuff and I just respond back and people are like, dude, Phil, like, don't worry about this stuff. Don't let it upset you and this stuff. I'm like, dude, I'm taking a crap right now. Like, you really think that I'm bothered by this shit? Yeah. Try being a Division I basketball player. And I wasn't even the best. I was a bench warmer. But imagine playing that sport, shooting free throws in front of 15 to 20,000 kids on the road. They're calling you way more things than these guys online.
Really?
I mean, what do you do at a sporting event? You heckle.
Yeah.
You talk trash. You're going to miss. Your mom's this. You suck. You suck. They say all these things. If you're sitting on the bench, they're saying, hey, man, hey, you. And you turn around, you're done. You're done. because they already and nowadays you see, like, I know we're going on a tangent, but real quick, with social media with collegiate athletes, you see they don't have Instagram. You see they don't have Facebook and shit. Number one is probably a team policy. Number two, they probably figure, shit, man, I'm going to catch a lot of heat from fans exposing myself, putting myself out there like that.
Right.
Because if I respond, I represent the university, I'm going to look bad, and blah, blah, blah. So with me, I just say, okay, now I know that if I make a comment back, people are going to take it the wrong way. They're going to get all insecure. They're going to call me defensive because I'm actually defending myself, because there's we're talking about like teenage boys that read this stuff, and if that's all they read, that's what they're going to believe. So I should coach them and say, no, that's not what it is. This is what it is. You're hearing it from the horse's mouth, not just some guy that just has, his thumb up his ass and just wants to be mad at me for winning. Like,
right.
I will say this about social media, we go on to the next one, is they're not using it the way it was intended with me. I respond to people nonstop. And if people were willing to humble themselves and ask real questions and not troll so damn much, you know how much free game I would give you? I would give you all of the knowledge. Because I'm at the point now where it's like, my legacy is secure.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm sharing stuff with the world on a daily basis, and I want you to get this. I want to give it to you. But the overwhelming population of and they're a small majority. They're a small majority of the haters and the trolls and this and that. They ruin it for the guys that are too scared to ask a question because they may feel that they're dumb for asking it. But I'm not going to say, man, this is a stupid question. I'm going to say, I can help you. Maybe read this book or go to this website, this and that. Anyone that's ever tried that, I've always met them with open arms. So I think there's a possibility that fans could have a better experience with me online if it was more their attitude being changed than mine. And of course, at the end of the day, let's be honest, I have to sell the show.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. So when I talk about the Dream Killer shit, fuck, dude, that's merchandise, man. Like, I'm making shirts out of this. So why shouldn't I do that? So, am I saying no one can ever tell me that I've ever said another bodybuilder sucks? They can't. You can't find an interview where I said this guy sucks. All they say is that I'm better. Yeah. And if that bothers you, then maybe you should go on their Instagram every day and go coach them to be better.
Yeah, I mean, I have this argument I talk about this with so many of these interviews because it's not a team sport. There's only one winner in all these shows. And if you don't believe you can win, if you don't have that confidence, why are you going through 16 weeks of hell, dieting and double cardio and all this crap?
Right.
Feeling like death. Why would you even bother? So
you better want it because you're going to go against a guy like me who wants it way more than I let you think I do. Mm-hmm. I let people think that I'm just chilling and I'm just hanging out. Nah, man. Like, there's times where I'll film workouts and share them with people, and they'll be like, "Oh, he's not training that hard." You don't think that I'm treating myself like an old basketball player and going back to the gym when the lights are off? They don't know. Right. Why do you think I got keys to the gym? And why do you think I don't post everything? Because that's when I'm really working. So I'm not gonna give everybody the advices, right? I'm gonna give you so much, and even the competition, to where they're questioning like, man, how does he look like that and not train heavy? Right. Come on, man. I'm doing that shit when the cameras are off, like, because I don't want you to know anything.
Right. So here we are. You got 7 Olympias, which is Arnold's record. The record held by Lee Haney and Ronnie Coleman is 8, and you're just about there. I don't see anybody beating you. But what will it mean to you personally to get that number 8 and be in that such elite club of 2 amazing legends, Ronnie and Lee Haney?
It would be probably the greatest accomplishment of my life, hands down. I was with Ronnie Coleman. I had the pleasure of going to the Olympia in 2005, watching Ronnie Coleman win. I also had the pleasure of going to his after party. I also had the pleasure of Hani introducing me to Ronnie Coleman formally. I had met him the previous year in Denver, but of course he's not going to remember me. I'm just an amateur at the time. Yeah. And I hung out with Ronnie till 7:30 in the morning.
Wow.
So I got to see his last Sandow run his last time as champion, and I just thought, how incredible is this that I get to not only witness history being made, but actually get to be a fan and go to McDonald's and watch. I still remember what he ate. I remember what he wore. He was wearing a BSN jersey, and it was all black. And he had 2 double quarter pounders with cheese, a Coke, and a large fry. I remember and I'm not even eating my damn shit because I'm like, every time he takes a bite, I'm seeing that rope vein in his bicep larger and larger. And I'm like, I don't think people realize what I'm seeing right now. So I think being able to see that and now able to talk about this is just very special. So being able to also visit with Lee Haney and chat with him over the years, I just think it's really cool that I'm in this opportunity. And because when I won that first one and second one, and I said I wanted to win 10, people thought I was an asshole, cocky, this and that.
On crack.
On crack, right? Yeah, I'm smoking that shit, man, you know? Man, he's on that good shit in Colorado, right?
That's right.
And right? And then here I am. I'm at 7. So I'm living proof that all those memes that you look at, all those affirmation memes on social media, all those fake-ass stories people be talking about being your best version of yourself and this and that, I'm fucking doing it.
Yeah.
I'm fucking doing it, so then I'm showing you that you can do it. If anyone wants to look at this legacy, they can say, man, that motherfucker Phil Heath, man, he had a lot of shit against him, and he still fucking won. That means that I can go out there and win in life, too, because people are going to hate me, too. The same people that were rooting for my ass to dethrone Jay in 2011 were the same people throwing shade in 2013, 14, 15, and, you know, you learn. So I think having that, being a part of that elite group, I'll be honest, man, like, I want to win 9 and 10, but shit, you win 8, you could call it a night and everybody would have to respect it. You know, they'd have to say, well, he's one of the greatest. So, but the true answer is that I'm very humbled by the experience. I've had a lot of time because I didn't travel a lot this year. So I had a lot of time at home to be able to train and get really focused and really absorb the day-to-day. Because you could interview Hani tomorrow and he would say, I can't believe we got 7 already. It feels like yesterday we were our first. Right. Because you stop and smell the roses, right? You're always being on the go. Excuse me. So I've stopped and smelled these roses day in and day out, being in the moment, enjoying the gym, visiting with people more in the gym, having fun, because this is, you know, probably going to be the last 3 years of my career. So I need to make it the best for myself to produce a better product for the fans and the judges. So I'm just, like I said, I can't speak enough about how humbled I am with this whole journey. It's taught me a lot, and I'm just in that space now where people talk about being hungry for a win. I'm fucking starving, man. There's a difference.
Yeah.
So I see it in my grasp, and I just have to. And to be honest, now that the hernia's gone, I get to show myself my best version, so that when I retire, I can look back at those last 3 years and say, yeah, man, like, you gave it everything. You had nothing holding you back. And these are the pictures that people are probably going to marvel over for years to come.
Yeah. So a question that always comes up, or a topic that always comes up is, well, the guys in the 90s were better. You know, if Kevin was around or Flex was around, or they would beat Phil. I mean, do you get tired of hearing, like, how great the 90s were and how those guys were better, and the Dorian era, the Ronnie era was better?
I think, to answer your question in short, yes. I think it's a conversation that'd be like saying LeBron James would get smoked by, like, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. It's like, are you crazy? Like, they would all be competitive.
Yeah.
And people have to realize something. The level of condition that I come in far exceeds, like, what they did. Right. The difference is that they weren't being filmed on DSLR high-def cameras. They weren't being streamed online, right?
Yep.
The magazines back then, I mean, you know this, like the Chris Lunds, the Kevin Hortons, like all of the Purbanels, They used slides, real film.
Yep.
And that film required people that had the right eye to capture that moment. Nowadays, it's just like 1,000 pictures, and
Yeah.
right, exactly. So and the lighting was different at those shows. It was all black backgrounds back then. Black backgrounds make guys stand out more. I don't think people should have to be a rocket scientist to figure this shit out by now, but I think they need to be told.
Yeah.
Because of the Olympia, because of the Arnold, because of the shows having to be more entertaining, you can't use a black background. You have to have big murals and lights, and they have high def lights on that Olympia stage so hot that people are ready to pass out backstage because all those LEDs require heat. So they didn't have to deal with that. They didn't have to deal with the 2-day show. I'm not going to discredit any of those athletes, but I damn sure am not going to say that I wouldn't be competitive. I think I would be very competitive with all those guys mentioned, and we'll just have to. Unfortunately, we just have to play the virtual pose down bullshit that everybody is online. But I think that's cool. I think it's neat that my name is in those conversations. Yeah. But to say that I wouldn't beat them, they also have to remember how consistent my conditioning has been, my showings have been, and also those mind games they used to play on each other.
Yeah,
it would never work on me because, like I said, man, like playing basketball and shit, you don't think that people talk trash every day. Like, it is what it is. It's a way of life. I grew up as an only child. I had to fight every battle I got into. I didn't have no big brother to go whoop someone's ass. I had to figure it out. Either I fought back or I ran. So you have to learn, like, how to deal with conflict. And those guys dealt with conflict back then, training at Gold's Venice, all this other stuff. But to sum it all up, I think I would fare very well with all of them.
I should mention that one guy who actually says that a lot is Kevin Laveroni. He says Phil would have been right there with us. He takes nothing away from me.
Yeah, I have the same body parts. I mean, I don't see there being, but I think what's cool is that everybody has their favorites. Some people still go on XM radio and listen to the oldies, because they like the oldies.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I just think as long as people, honestly, Ron, I think as long as people can respect what they're seeing right now and quit doing all these crazy-ass comparisons, because if you really want to go deep into it, we could pull pictures of where these guys didn't show up in shape.
Oh, yeah.
And compare, shot for shot and dissect people. But that's a waste of time. They appreciated the 90s. They appreciated the 80s. They appreciated the year 2000 and 2010s. Let's just appreciate everybody for what they bring, because there's no guarantee that the guy's going to be up there next year. There just isn't.
Yeah, I mean, I also want to say that I only saw Lee Haney's last win, but I mean, there were you've been more consistent condition-wise than Lee Haney was. Lee Haney was off a couple times. Dorian was off a couple times. Ronnie was off a couple times and still won. I mean, the worst you've ever looked was last year, and it still wasn't. It's like Dexter. Dexter, when he's off, he's still pretty damn good. You being a little bit off is still better than everybody else. Unfortunately for the other guys.
Right, and that's just one of those things where, as an athlete, you have to recognize and say, okay, what happened, what went wrong, and you just have to get better.
Okay. Last question with you. It's a quote that you said that really resonated with me. You said, "You'll miss me when I'm gone," and I really had to stop and think about that, because I really think it's true. I think, like a lot of obviously, you won't have to be dead for 50 years for this to happen, like a lot of painters and musicians. But I mean, I think when you're gone, however, when you stop competing, people are going to really appreciate how good you were. Because right now they're so busy hating you, and they want Rami to win, and they want this guy to win, that guy to win. Everyone's caught up in the moment. But when we look back, I think we are going to say, wow, Phil was really very, very unique. He was a great champion. It's
and I think it's all one of those things. I agree. I think it's when it's all said and done, they'll realize what I accomplished. Their emotions will be kind of lowered because I'm not a threat to their favorite guy. Yeah. And, everybody does that shit, man. People forget that they even talk shit about Jordan. Like, people don't like people that love Jordan don't remember that at one point in time, Jordan, he takes too many shots and this and that, he's a ball hog and this and that. Check out Jordan's Hall of Fame speech. He roasted writers that fucked with him in his entire career because he had haters. So I think, and now he's regarded as the best basketball player to ever live.
Right.
I think that if I win, I break this record, I'll be the greatest ever. And I will wear that on my chest. And that's just something that I'll feel strongly about. But as far as the fans, I think with these type of interviews, with these type of interactions, they'll kind of calm down a little bit and realize what I'm trying to attempt. And it takes a lot of fucking balls to say you're going to win something and actually follow through with it. Yeah. And when it's all said and done, I'm going to walk through an expo one day, wife and kid, and people are going to be like, "That's that guy. He was the shit, man." Yeah. Hey, Gift. Hey, man. Because I get it now. People do it now. Like, man, I've been following your career, man. I didn't really like you at first, man, but I started kind of just looking at what you go through, and then I realized, man, that's really cool. So, to all the fans out there, just embrace what we're all going through. Not just me, but all your favorites. Because we all have a story. We're all trying to be the best. And I'd be a fool to say that I'm not gonna stir the pot a little bit because I have to. Because I demand that the competitors push themselves, so then I get better. Yeah. So I demand that's respect. When someone trains their ass off because of you, that's respect, right? Yeah. So I'm gonna treat this with great honor and appreciation for what I have. Bodybuilding has been great to me and my family, and really just ride this out as being the best version of myself. And providing these opportunities for people to get to see us visiting and just draw their own conclusion that Phil Heath just a dude that he beat a lot of ass and talked some shit here and there, but he was real. Yeah. But he always wanted to connect, and that was the goal even with today. So I appreciate your time, Ron.
Oh man.
It's far too long that this didn't happen. I'm sure people when they see this are going to be like, wait a minute. He's muscular development. We've never seen his face with this. Yeah. And it shows that we're in a free market, and I'm very happy that we see it this way. So then there can be more dialogue. Because the one thing I don't want is for fans to say that at the end of all these wins, I didn't really know him. So that requires some effort on my part. But I'm going to say this to the fans right now. It's a lot that they have to do because otherwise I'm going to go into my hole and train and just do that. Yeah. But if people hit me with emails all damn day, then fine. So I gotta run, my man. But
yes, sir.
Yeah.
I thank you so much, Phil. This has been a long, long time coming. I never thought I was going to be able to interview you. So this is, like I said, God is good. I'm very, very, very pleased with this. Thank you so much for doing this.
Let's do it again.
I'll see you in Vegas, where I am very confident you're getting that 8th standout trophy. I don't see anybody really stopping you, honest to God. So
you're gonna piss off a couple dudes on that MD forum. I already know their names, but I ain't gonna give them no credit right now. But you're gonna piss them off with that one. But that's okay.
That's okay. That's okay. I can deal with it. So thank you so much for your time.
Yes.
I'd say good luck, but I don't think you need luck. You've got everything.
I'll take it.
You've got it handled.
I will take it, and all the best to you, and all the best to all the fans watching. Thank you for watching. This was really neat for me, and I just appreciate the opportunity to just have some fun online.
Cool. So for the Ronline Report, this has been me with 7-time, soon to be 8-time, most likely, Mr. Olympia Phil Heath. Thanks for watching.